Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a conversion from the cloverleaf antenna that we see on these micro cameras over to a dipole. Very simple, very straightforward. The only thing you're going to need is an old whip antenna, a soldering iron, and some cutters. This is a great conversion to do if you've already broken your antenna or you want an antenna that's going to be more resilient in a crash. Very easy to do, very straightforward. So let's get started. So first we want to remove the old antenna. I'm using a soldering iron at about 850 degrees. Just go ahead and work on getting that out. If you need to clip the antenna off in order to get it off the board, don't worry about that. Just go ahead and do it. And then we'll come back here in a second and we'll go ahead and clean up the soldering contacts and get it ready for the new one. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and clean up the soldering contacts. Just take your iron, brush them over the contacts real quick, separate out if there's any overflow going from one contact to the other. We just want to make sure that there's a nice clean surface for ground and that it's not touching any of the positive, and get it ready to work with us. Go ahead and add a little dab of solder if you need to on here, so you got a nice real tin to work with, so it's going to make your life a lot easier when we put the antenna on. Alright, now we're going to start working with the whip antenna. There's going to be a couple of different things to do here. There should all be pretty much the same. I haven't run into any of them yet that are set up any differently. But in this case I'm using an immersion RC antenna that I got out of one of their 600 milliwatt transmitters. The first thing to do is go ahead and pop off the top of the antenna. That'll expose the little dipole inside. Go ahead and bend it over and then snip right there at the bend. That'll be the easiest place I've found to go ahead and make a cut. Alright, once you have the antenna taken out of the old whip, there's going to be some yardstick measuring on this. You don't want it to be too long, you don't want it to be too short. You definitely want to have enough to work with, but remember, you can always trim back, but you can't ever add on. So just take your time with it, get a good measurement on it, and if you feel like you got everything good to go but it's too long, just trim it back a little bit. It's not a big deal. Okay, once you have the antenna cut down to size, we're going to go ahead and peel back just the outer layer. It's very important. There's 4 different layers in this, and right now we're just peeling back the outer one. Go ahead and make it a nice big long cut, probably about half of the total length that you have below that little silver bell. Okay, now we're going to be going ahead and stripping back that shielding, and we're going to take the ground, which is the braided cord that you're going to find inside of that, and we're going to go ahead and separate it into 2 sides. So coming out of this thing, when you're done, you should have one side of ground, another side of ground, and right there in the middle is going to be that core, which is your positive lead. So go ahead and get that done. You're going to want these to be nice and long. Take it all the way back to where we cut the shielding on the outside, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now we're going to be at this last part. This is your last chance to make any adjustments that you need to do. So go ahead and just do a cold test fit on the soldering contacts. Make sure everything's lined up. You got plenty of room to work with. Everything's nice and clean, because after you hit this point, it's going to get a lot dicier to try and recover from it. So take your time, do it right, and you should be fine. Once you're satisfied with the length of your wires, go ahead and peel back that last layer of shielding so that you can expose the core. This is what we're going to go ahead and drop in on that positive soldering tab. It needs to be very light, very easy. This is very, very thin material, so it should be easy to work with, but at the same time, be careful with it. Alright, once you've exposed that core, go ahead and apply a little bit of solder to it. Be careful when you're heating this up, because as you apply more heat to it, that shielding that's on the inside is going to go ahead and start to melt backwards. So if you've cut a little short or you just have a little bit on there, that's fine. It'll come back and you'll have it at a good distance. But if you have too much, you're going to create problems with yourself. So take your time here and you'll be fine. On this particular camera, the positive lead needs to be a lot shorter than the ground leads, so what I've decided to do is go ahead and take a little bit of that extra shielding that we had cut off earlier and put it on each side of these little pigtails that we've made for the ground. What that's going to do is that's going to protect it from touching the positive wire and go ahead and help our antenna reception overall, so that we won't have any shorts or any issues with that going on. There are a lot of cameras that don't have that, and where the positive is actually quite a bit longer than the ground. In this case, that's not necessary. Don't worry about that. Just go ahead and continue on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and solder on our positive core wire. Go ahead and keep the ground separate for right now. Make sure you get a good clean contact on that positive, and then we'll go ahead and attach the ground wires after that. And then from here, we're just going to go ahead and measure out a little bit of heat shrink. I've decided I'm only going to go up to the top of that bell and go ahead and throw it on there. And congratulations, you're all done. You've done a dipole antenna conversion.